Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Club Junkie podcast. I'm back, baby. Week off from vacation. I tried to get a podcast going last week. It just didn't happen. I apologize for that. Just didn't have a whole lot of time, but I'm back. Excited. Been playing some golf. Let's get at it. So before we get into today's episode, I just want to let you know this episode brought to you, of course, by Titleist and the Pro V1, Pro V1X golf balls. For the best in the world, the goal is to improve every day. Same goes for all of us dedicated to this game, and it starts with choosing the golf ball you can trust. The Titleist Pro V1 and Pro V1X have set the standard for performance, and now they just got better. Again. Both models are engineered with high gradient core technology that delivers lower long game spin for more distance and more consistent flight. And of course, you can expect that trusted drop and stop greenside control, so important to shooting lower scores. Pro V1 is the best combination of distance, spin, and feel in the game, and delivers a penetrating ball flight, where Pro V1X, my ball, flies a little higher, spins a little more in the short game, while still giving you low spin and longer shots to maximize your distance. Outperform your best. Learn more about the new Pro V1 and Pro V1X at Titleist.com. Check them out. I was playing a good amount of Pro V1X last week. Played a decent amount of golf. I think I played 4 times since I talked to you guys last, which is pretty huge. So, last week, took the week off as I usually do for 4th of July. Spent the time with my family, immediate family, my brothers, my dad, my parents, all that. So had a great time, and it was nice. Just had some great weather. Just hung out, relaxed, a little swimming in the lake with the daughter, and playing in the sand, building some sand castles, letting her smash them, and playing a little golf, which is always awesome. So it was a great week off. Needed it, and just had a great time. So. Yeah, it was a good one. I've done some, before we get into my golfing adventures, which, again, I think I played 4 times in the time I was gone. We'll kind of get up to date on a couple little things, I guess. I know I posted, if you follow me on Instagram, at Club Junkie Pod, which I'll shamelessly plug, I guess. I would love to get to like 10,000 followers by the end of the year, and I'm at like 8,200. So it's like 1,800 more I just need, and I think it's doable. I think I can do it in 6 months. I know it's like kind of like not the loftiest goal, but I think it's definitely possible to do. So hopefully, if you're not following me, follow me there. I try to post a good amount of stuff with new gear that comes out and all that. I just posted a little video, a reel of the new PXG Battle Ready 2 putters. They sent me a Bat Attack and a Brandon. So I got both those. They have the new grips, M16 shafts. New diamond face on them, all that stuff. So I'm going to get those starting out. I'm going to get those out on Thursday. I've been putting them around a little bit down here. I'm actually recording this on Tuesday night. The night was doing stuff. My wife has a book that she wanted to read because it's due back to the library like tomorrow or something. So she's buried in her Kindle. So I was like, all right, let's just go record. And I'm kind of itching from missing last week. So if you follow me there. Like I said, I posted a reel on the new PXG putters, which look pretty cool. They had some cool tech to them, so I'm excited to get those out and roll them. I've been rolling them down here a little bit today. They showed up yesterday afternoon, so I got some photos and all that. There's some photos in the Golf WX forums. I did a little reel at Club Junkie Pod, and they look pretty good. So if you've been a fan of the PXG putters, these ones look pretty cool, and I do say I love the head covers they did with like the darkness skull, which I'm going to admit I don't remember the actual meaning to it with the 26 and all that. I know it's something to do with the military, but very cool head covers on them as well. Hopefully, as I'm sitting here, I'm not going to bleed. If you're watching this on YouTube, which you can if you search Golf WRX Radio, hopefully I don't bleed through the side of my hat. I was leaning over to pick something off the floor and just smacked my head. The corner, like my temple, right on the corner of my Mitchell bending machine, just on the corner of the plate that's there, and just smacked it and was bleeding a little bit. So I should probably be in concussion protocol, but I'm all good. And so a few things going on. Like I said, new PXG putters going there. Super excited as well. I got the new VA Composites Sinister shaft. I've got the driver shaft. I've been playing that a little bit last week. I'll probably do a show on it next week because they sent me just one of the 110 iron shaft. They're making an iron shaft as well. They sent me the 110 gram version, which is really cool. That's gonna get glued up probably tomorrow. I'll probably glue that up tomorrow and play with it some more. The driver shaft so far though has been really, really solid. I got some new irons. I don't know if I can talk about them yet. I'm waiting. I emailed the place. They've been posted online. They're of a company that makes. They've been seen on tour, been seeing photos. People have shown them online. I don't know why I couldn't, but I want to make sure before I talk anything about them. But I've got some new irons there that I'm super excited to play. They showed up again. I think Friday when I was gone, they showed up. So they're here. Let's say it's a pretty cool combo set. I'm pretty excited for it. And then, I think the rest of my stuff has just been kind of going strong. The other thing I'll let you know that I've kind of been getting into, I know I talked about, I'm a club guy and love building my own stuff. And I know I posted a thing on Instagram about the 3M, kind of trying some new epoxy, which is this DP8410 NS. So DP810, I think it's DP810. 810 is the stuff they use on all the tour vans. So 810 comes in cartridges, super expensive, like $50 for like a 50 milliliter cartridge. But it's the stuff they use on all the tour vans. It's super, super strong. It's a great epoxy, all that. It's just wildly expensive. They don't care on the tour vans because, it's for the tour pros and they don't want a head flying off, in the middle of a tournament. So they use the best and they don't care what it costs. For me, man, $50 is kind of a lot for a small cartridge, so I was doing some research, and there's some awesome stuff in the Golf to Barracks forums about some people using other epoxies and things like that. And a lot of guys were talking about DP8410 NS, which is another. I guess it's actually an acrylic adhesive instead of being epoxy, but it's 2-part. And I was going to mess with it. I had to go find a gun because it actually is a 10-in-1. When you spread it, it's a 10-in-1 or 10-to-1 ratio, which is pretty interesting because it's actually, if you look in here, if you're on YouTube, it's blue and kind of a tan color, and the stuff kind of stinks. I guess it's non-toxic, but it does kind of stink. But it's really weird when you shoot epoxy out of a 10-to-1 cartridge, ratio cartridge, because there's so little of the blue, in this case, the light blue portion, such a little bit comes out that it's weird to look at. But I've been using this stuff. I built up a couple sets of irons with it, and so far I've been really happy. It's worked really well, super solid. It's, it actually, the working life on it is a little bit longer than I thought it would be. I thought it was going to be like really short, kind of like that really, not 5-minute epoxy, but something where the gel time was like, really, really short, 10 minutes, whatever. I don't, when I build clubs, when I build a set of irons, I have everything laid out, all the parts, ferrules, tip weights, all that stuff laid out, ready to go. Everything's ready to go. And I usually shoot out enough to do like 1 or 2 clubs, and then I mix it, do those, and then I mix another batch. And part of that is, I kind of learned it from an old guy, or a guy that I learned it from years and years and years ago, was if you do a whole big set and all of a sudden something gets mixed wrong, whatever, the whole set could fail and all the heads fall off and whatever. If you do like 1 or 2 clubs individually, if one of them fails, it's a bad mix or bad ratio or whatever, the one will fail, and you'll kind of know which one it is, because like for me, I take an old GolfWorks catalog and I put, I go boom, 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 and I actually do a little mix for each one, so I can kind of like know, like, oh, here's the pitching wedge, 9-iron, 8-iron, whatever. They're all little splotches, and if one is all of a sudden like, forever tacky, never gets, firm, never, hardens up, I can know which club may have a problem and either go fix it or whatever. So I've never been somebody who mixes like a huge batch and then, does every single club. I just don't do it that way. So this stuff, I thought the working life was short, but it didn't really matter because that's not how I do build my clubs anyway. The working life's actually a little longer than I thought. It probably is around that 15-minute mark. I guess it was kind of, in my mind, I was counting down like 5 minutes. But the stuff works really well. The one thing I do have to say is a lot of people sent me some DMs and comments when I first posted this stuff, and they're looking to try something different as well. And I guess finding the 10-to-1 ratio gun for these older style cartridges is tough. So I ended up finding mine on eBay. I paid like $22 for it or something like that, and it works great. It's there's a 3M version, like an authentic 3M version of this little mixing gun, and it was like $100+ everywhere online. And thankfully, I kind of like snagged the model number off of it and searched that and found on eBay some guy was selling. It's not a bad gun. It feels pretty sturdy, like it's made out of plastic, but it's not super flexible or anything like that. It seems to be good for $25 or $22, and I think shipping, so $25. I got the whole gun. So. But it's worked really well. It's definitely way thicker than standard epoxy. Like I've been using a lot of the Brampton and Golfworks like tour set, which is like kind of like 90-minute. Like the gel time's like 20 minutes or something, or 30 minutes, and then like kind of like mostly cured in 90 minutes. I've been using a lot of that, and then I switched over to this, and far thicker. It's a much thicker viscosity. It goes into the head, but you have to worry. It is a little stringy in a sense. Like it does stick to, like I use an old like Red Wings pencil that I used to kind of line, to put the epoxy inside the hosel and on the tip of the shaft and things like that. It is a little stringy, a little sticky. It does kind of like, as you pull the pencil out of the hosel, you'll see a little bit of that. It'll kind of like stringy up. So you do have to kind of beware that you may have to wipe something up or be careful where that goes. Other than that, it works pretty well. It's got little like kind of it's light blue when you mix it. This 8410, it's light blue, but it's got these little beads in it as well that actually, I guess, were meant for if you were basically putting two pieces together and like clamping them under a heavy force. The beads make sure that there's enough epoxy, in between the two pieces to bond. It doesn't center any better in the head. No, one of the guys in the Golf WX forums was saying like not to add centering beads to it, and you really don't. I mean, it is thicker, so it does fill that hosel and the gap between shaft hosel. If there is any type of like play, this fills it out pretty well. But I built 2 sets of irons. One of the sets of irons I'll talk about tonight, I actually built with it. I built 2 sets of irons. And I want to say at least like 2 driver shafts with it so far, and everything's held together really well. And the other thing that's interesting is, so I usually, when I build it, I put a little bit of epoxy inside the ferrule as I slide it on, just to kind of hopefully stop that from creeping up when you hit off mats a lot. So I put a little bit in there, and then put the club together, wipe any excess off, all that. And usually with the Brampton, Golfworks, whatever, you do the same thing, and when after it's dry, like the next day, whatever, and you could bend it, there'd be that almost initial almost like a crack of kind of the ferrule moving a touch on the shaft or whatever. There was always like a little snap or whatever. And with this, there's none of that. Like it's super solid. So far I've been really impressed. I've been really happy with it. The other thing that's weird about it does have a kind of a smell. Again, it's not supposed to be toxic, but it definitely does have a smell to it. So when you first bust it open and fire away some of that on the on your mixing board or cup or whatever you use, definitely has a smell. It's going to smell to it. But so far I've been really pleased with the 8410. It's worked really well. I've done a couple putters with it as well. So far I've been doing that. Worked really well. I haven't had any problems mixing. It's been really simple, and as long as you get used to the interesting ratio that comes out of the cartridge, pretty good. So, and 8410 for a 50 milliliter cartridge is about 20. It depends. The first cartridge I bought off Amazon I got for like $17. They're up at around 20 right now when I looked today. So I don't need anything yet, but they have gone up a little bit, which is a little bit of a bummer. But still, it's kind of nice. I don't use a whole lot. Like, I mean, you fire off like the small amount you need, and that's it. And it's kind of nice just to, grab the trigger, pull it, done, and mix. So I've been pretty happy with it. It's worked pretty well, and I haven't had any failures, anything like that. So I'll continue to use it, and I still have some Brampton stuff over there that I can use as well if for some reason I want to or need to. But I think I may switch over to the DP8410 NS from 3M. I might switch over to that permanently. So, but pretty cool. The sets I built the 0317 CBs. I put a set of Project X shafts in there. I built up, I want to say the NS Pro putter shafts that I put in. I used it, and I want to say something else. The shafts I'm going to talk about, into the heads I'm going to talk about tonight. I built those with that stuff, and the Sinister shaft into an all-fit tip, and something else. There was something else I built with it, but anyway, built a bunch with it. Been really happy with it. What's in the bag stuff? It's kind of really in the mix right now. because I've got a new set of irons. I've shafted up the Axioms, which today we're going to talk about Axiom. I've shafted up the Axioms, so those are ready to go. And then, I've got another set. And I'm thinking I might want to reshaft the I-230s. I don't know. We'll see. I've got a set of shafts sitting over there. I've got some KBS PGI 100s. I might want to throw those in there. We'll see. So I'm kind of going. It seems like a big move to graphite for a lot of the stuff I've been doing. But yep. So everything been going well. My golfing, played down at Bella Vista a bunch, which is always fun, down in Coldwater, Michigan. Again, if you haven't played it, it is a little bit of a hidden, I don't want to say a hidden gem, but it's kind of a little bit of a gem. It's like, I think under $50 to play it, and in really good shape. I think the only green, I think what is it, 14 is a little bit up. It's got a little fungus on it. It's not bad though. It's just really small patches. So depending on where they put the pin, it may not even matter. But they got a little bit of fungus growing on that one. And then it seems like a lot of guys on 16 haven't been fixing ball marks. So I fixed a bunch on Thursday when I played there, and there were still a lot. So if you're playing Bella Vista, you get to 16, fix some ball marks, please. It's not that hard. And but it was a good week. Got it all in. I thought one of the rounds, I think it was Monday, I thought it was supposed to rain, so we didn't know if we were going to get it in. We did, thankfully. But I played Saturday, Monday, Thursday, and then I played 2 rounds of the little Iapawa golf course, which is a little 9-hole track that's over near where my parents' place is. So played a few of those. And it was a lot of fun. But anyway, played some golf. Saturday's round, played terrible. Really did. Just had a bunch of big numbers, and it was one of those days where the swing just never felt comfortable. Every swing just didn't feel good, whether it was a putting stroke, whether it was a driver, irons, whatever. And I think I shot 86. I think it was like an 87, but the handicap is you put it in, it goes through and takes some strokes off. So I think it went down to 86. Monday went out and played far better. I think the front 9 I shot even par. I made 3 bogeys. So I made a bogey on 1, a bogey on 2, and then a bogey on 9. But I made 3 birdies in a row on 4, 5, and 6, which 4 is a really tough hole to birdie. 5 and 6 are pretty easy. Those are birdieable holes. I mean, they're pretty gettable. But 4 that's probably the first time I've birdied that hole maybe ever. I would love to go. I wish I would keep like historical data of my scores there, but that was the first time I've ever birdied that hole. Hit a decent drive. It wasn't great, but hit a decent drive out there, and then had like a little 8-iron that I hit thin into the green, and I was like, wow, it ended up pretty good. Just left of the pin, and when we got up there, it was like a foot from left of the pin. So I thought it was definitely long. Pin was in the back, and if you go long on the hole, you're just dead. So I thought it was toast when it left the face. Ended up being in a good spot. Made the putt, and then birdied 5, birdied 6, and hit a good shot on 7, and just missed the putt. So it was a solid round. And then 9 and 10 are always kind of a nemesis hole because 10's just brutal, but it was a good round. So shot even par there, and then walked off, and I think I made like double on 10. Right, I think my bogey on 9, double on 10, because 10 is just hitting that green. It's like even if you hit the green, you can barely hold it. Maybe you have to hit the left side so perfect, or like draw it in there, whatever, and it just never do it. But played really well that day. Shot 79, I believe, and then went back out on Thursday. Shot another 86, which was a little rough. And it was, in that one there, it wasn't actually that bad. I had a couple holes that just were annihilation. Again, 11 killed me. I think I hit my T-ball. I think I hit a T-ball OB, if not 2. Made a big number there. 9 I struggled with. I mean, it was the same holes that get me every time. So, but other than that, I played pretty solid. Other than those like couple holes that really threw my game off. So played pretty well there. But played a lot. Been playing a lot driver wise. I'll play the front 9 with one driver, back 9 with another. Playing a lot of TSR2. Just playing a lot of that head. Just playing really well with it. So TSR2, I played like 4 shafts, and I think I played that new Sinister in it. The Mitsubishi Tensei 1K Pro Blue. Played the TR Blue, TR Red. I was playing a bunch of different shafts in there. So that's kind of been my go-to head, kind of my gamer. I brought the Aerojet, the standard Aerojet. I know I had the LS before that I was messing with. I brought the standard one down there. And man, I tell you what, that thing, I can't hit the center. I don't hit bad drives with it. Like, it's just I'm hitting it off the heel or I'm hitting it a little off the toe, whatever. They're going straight. They go kind of out there. I'm just not hitting into the center. Where the TSR2, I definitely hit in the center. But the ball speeds on that Aerojet are really, really good. So brought that, and then I think I also had my Stealth 2 Plus, out there also. So kind of just rotated through and was hitting drivers. I brought 2 full bags. So a week-long vacation. Total of 4 rounds of golf. I brought 2 full golf bags. 2 putters, all that, multiple heads, multiple shafts. So I was switching stuff out. So it was good. So I played most of my rounds with my combo. I got them built up before I left, and played pretty much all but I think I played 18 without them, but I played everything else with the new Fujikura Axiom 105 S's. So 105S is what your boy is rocking in the new Fujikura Axioms, and they're built up in, of course, the Vega Mizar Tour heads. So that was the one that I was pretty sure I was going to put them into, and I ended up going that route, and pretty happy I did. These are a pretty lethal combination, and then I went through and actually bent these all week. I think the pitching wedge I bent 3 degrees weak, because I think these were based off like a 42 degree pitching wedge. Bent it back to 45. Everything's at least 1 or 2 degrees weak on these. So I try to kind of match them up to kind of irons I got fit into. The first that I got fit into was a set of Strixon, the Z5. I had a 765, 565 combo set. So I've got those specs up on my wall, and I pretty much do everything to those. And then the new set of irons I got is basically stock loft lie and length. So I gotta measure it and see what those guys are. But everything pretty much built them back to standard length. And I do have to say, add a little loft to them was pretty nice, because the faces are really hot. These things, they go like crazy. So they're super hot, and adding a little bit of loft just helps kind of get the ball in the air a little more for me. And the Axioms are in. So it was a fun little build with these bad boys. I'm going to set the actual iron down and just pull a raw shaft I've got that I haven't cut or anything. It's just kind of sitting there ready to go. But this is the brand new Axiom. So the build is actually pretty fun, because they're actually, instead of, which I think I talked about in this other show, that they're not built on the same, like my Fuji Pro 115s. You basically get 7 or 8, whatever how many clubs you have, 2 iron blanks. You tip them, all the way down from an inch or half inch all the way down to like 4 inches, 3 inches, and then butt trim to length. These built on 3 different blanks. So there's the LP, which is the long, the MP, and the SP. So they're built on the short, medium, longs, and this one here is actually the long. This is basically the 4 iron, and right now I don't have the 4 iron installed because I don't know. I want to play, I keep playing my ping eye crossover, and I don't know if I want to necessarily reshaft it, because I'm hitting it pretty good. So it's here, it's waiting. It may go in that eye crossover if things go awry a little bit, but right now it's here waiting. But it's easier than if you're watching this on YouTube for me to have this in my hand here. But these new Axioms, I'm super impressed with the set I built up. They're really really solid. And yeah, these are the 105s, are the ones that I ended up going with. They make a 75, a 105, and a 125. But the 125 is only made in X-Flex. So if you're a stiff flex guy like me, 105 is going to be the heaviest they make. You'll be optioning 75 and 105. I asked the boys at Fuji about 125 stiff. I know back in the day when Mitsubishi came out with the MMT, the 125 only came in an X as well, and then they eventually came out with a stiff version. Fuji basically said they'll wait and see, and see how their fitters utilize these things, and if there is a room for it, a demand for it, we could see different weights and different flexes and different options. So the 75 gram version goes all the way down to R2, which is kind of a light flex, and then they go regular stiff. The 70 or the 80 or the 105 is made in stiff and X, and then the 125 only in X. So 105 grams is the weight they're built to, whether it's a short, medium, or long blank. They're all built at 105, and then they're fun to build. So the tipping is pretty interesting. Like the 4-iron, basically the longs are built for a 2, 3, and 4-iron. So for this, you would tip this shaft 1 inch. Because the 2-iron you'd tip 0, 3-iron you'd tip half an inch, 4-iron you tip an inch, and then the 5-iron, which goes to the MP, the middle length blank, you tip the 5-iron 0, and then the 6-iron half an inch, 7-iron 1 inch, and when you get to the shorts, it is back to an 8-iron of 0 inches, 7-iron of 1 or half an inch, and then a 9-iron wedge of 1 inch. So pretty interesting. And the other thing too is that you can kind of tip these a little more, a little less, and you can still soft and hard step them, because what you would do is, if you wanted to soft step everything, you would take this long blank and basically tip it an inch like a 4-iron and put it in a 5-iron shaft, and just slide everything down the list. So pretty cool that you can still hard step and soft step, and it just gives guys who are builders a lot of options to build. But got them built up, put them together. Really actually a pretty good build. I had the Meisner Tours had Shimada Tours in there, which I think are 120 grams, or right around 110, 120, so a little bit heavier. So I was a little worried about swing weight, and every time you move from steel to graphite, you're always a little bit worried about, are you going to get the swing weight right? And built them a standard length, standard loft, and 2 degrees, between 1 and 3 degrees weak in terms of loft. But the build actually went really, really well. I think only 1 iron I had to use tip weights for. They're all built to basically D2 or D1.5 to D2. They're all really, really close. I think 1 or 2 irons I had to use a tip weight. I think the 5-iron I might have needed a 2 gram tip weight. And in the pitching wedge, I wanted to get that one to D3. So I think I put a 2 or 4 gram in that one as well. Rest of them, all straight in, no tip weights, and that was pretty awesome. I thought about putting 2 grams in all of them and making them, straight D2, but I was like, you know what, I don't really need to. Most of them are getting to like D1.5 anyway, so moving them to D2.5, what's the big deal? And these things don't swing weight out. I mean, I don't play anything crazy anyway. I'm like a D2 guy anyway, so they worked out really well. So I was pretty surprised, or not surprised, but I was pretty impressed that building them was pretty easy, and they came out swing weight wise really, really close. Now, if you build stuff shorter length or whatever, then you may run into some things with some tip weights and stuff like that, or adding lead tape to heads. But standard length in these Vega heads worked out really, really well. And the nice thing too is that Vega's their weight tolerances tend to be really, really good as well. So everything was pretty consistent throughout the board. So went through, did all these, had to sand them all down, which is a pain. Sand them all down to taper tip, which, I mean, it's a pain, but also, most of the people who get these are going to have them installed by their club builders, so they're not going to have to go through that. But they're all 370s that you can sand down to 355. So sand it down to 355 taper, which takes a long time because you just want to go slow because you don't want to destroy a shaft. And I didn't want to have to ruin a tip and then have to call my boys at Fuji and ask for a replacement and feel the ridicule of destroying a shaft. So went slow and got those knocked out. But it was a fun build, just something slightly different. So I really had a kind of a fun time putting these bad boys together, and they look really good. Matte black shafts. With the VeloCore down near the tip is always pretty cool. Just went straight black ferrules. I know everybody's kind of into the BB&F stuff and the different ferrules, and I don't know. I switched shafts and clubs and all that way too much to spend the money on $40 ferrules. So I go with my cheap straight, just black 3/4 inch ferrules. And then, the shafts look really good. I like the way they look. Most of the graphics are, of course, on the underside. They do have that little Fuji logo and just a little herringbone kind of pattern up on the top. I know some people don't love, they wanted the top being all blank. I'll tell you what, it starts up it starts up near the handles. So really, when you play them, you don't really notice it. At least I don't. I mean, when I first put them down, of course, like the first few shots, I'm pulling the clubs out and I kind of want to see it, and it's like, oh man, these things are new and cool. So seeing them there, initially, yeah, you might notice the logo or something like that, but then after that, I pretty much didn't notice anything and just went about my day playing in an all black shaft. But they're really good. They're the stiffs are pretty darn stout. I know. People used to talk about back in the day, if you went from a stiff steel, a lot of guys would go to X and graphite because they felt like it was a similar stiffness. I think with these things, go get fit, but if you're going to go and try these, if you play into a stiff, buy a stiff. If you play an X, and I guess if you feel like you need to hard step them or something like that, go for it. But they're overall pretty darn stout, and if you play a stiff, I think you're going to be able to play a stiff in the Axiom with no problem. It's a stout shaft. It really is. Even the 75, when I hit that, I was kind of shocked at how kind of stout and stable that is for a lighter weight shaft. So out on the course, really first of all we'll go with kind of the feel. Extremely solid. I really like the Pro 115. The Pro series is really good. I played the 115. I played some 95s, and really like those shafts. These are definitely more solid. They just don't. The Pros would have maybe just a touch of vibration. That was I don't want to say harsh, but you get that touch of vibration that gets to the hands. With this, it doesn't. When you hit it solid, it is an absolute heavy thud. Kind of the stuff you hear on Sundays when you're watching golf on TV is just that zoop, thump, and the ball just goes. In terms of loading, definitely easy to feel the shaft load, yet it isn't super flexible. It's definitely as I said, it's definitely stout, and on that transition to the downswing, I mean, you're going to feel the shaft load a little bit, but it is not anything where it's going to feel like it's not with you or you can't go a little bit harder or anything like that. It definitely stays with you the whole way, but it is still smooth. You'll feel that thing load. You feel it kind of release at impact. Interesting thing at impact is that and I know I talked about it the first time after the trip out there and playing 18 holes with a set of Mizuno Pro 225s with the Axiom 105Ss in them. That it was one of those things you kind of have to trust it to release it, because you hit everything a little bit right. And I did the same thing because I hadn't played, I played them then, and then I've been back to steel shafts and other shafts or whatever for the past little while, and then finally got these, and of course the first, probably the first, most of the first 18, I left almost every shot out to the right. I just, trusted to turn it over. I think it's such a stable and stiff tip section that it just does not, if you don't release the club, the club head's not releasing. It's not gonna, it's not giving you that extra, weak little kick up or anything like that. It's a shaft that's built for accuracy and stability, and that stability will kind of trick you for the first, round or so. And then after that, I started to get into, finally trusting it and actually hitting it and actually releasing it and realizing it's not going to go left. But that feeling is still there on the first couple shots that you just really have to commit and trust it and hit those shots. Or hit or release the club, make sure you kind of get the hands through it and turn it over, because if you don't, you're going to hit it right at target. Now, the funny thing is it goes right at target, but it doesn't go that far right at target. It's not like you're hitting these big slices off the planet. It just goes a little bit right at target, and typically if you're aiming like center of the green, maybe you catch the right side or just a hair onto the rough, but the ball, it will not turn over super easy. So if you're a guy like me who hits it to the left, and you're always worried about that shot, these, in a way, whether it's a mental thing or whatever, they definitely help, not turn it over to the left. They definitely want to go straight, and it does. It takes a few holes to get the trust down. Now, maybe for some of you, it may be faster than that or easier than that, but for me, it probably took about 16 holes to get back to hitting it solid. But once I did, really, I mean, I almost think it's a compliment. You didn't notice a whole lot different. Yardages weren't changing. The only thing I did notice for me, they did I got them back up at making these weak. I got a little bit of that launch back, but I noticed when I played the 225s, I thought they came out a little bit lower than the Pro 115s. I love the Pro 115, and I love part about it. It was a little heavier weight, launch the ball up in the air pretty easily, and this, is a little bit lower launching. But again, thankfully, I, bent these things weak to fit my specs. And the nice thing is I bent them weak, and I'm still hitting the yardages that I want to hit. So, which is really well. And I tell you what, the miss hits on these are what's really impressive. Because hitting it solid, if I'm hitting a 7-iron 160, I hit it solid, the 7-iron goes 160. It's just what it is. But the amazing part is that a lot of the miss hits stay on line and carry farther than they did with the steel shafts that were in here, those Shimadas. I talked about, I made 3 birdies in a row on Monday. The shot on 4 was with these, and I hit it low in the face with an 8-iron from about 150, and I figured, oh, well, I'll be in the front of the green or just in front. I'll chip it on, have a long putt, whatever. It's not a big deal. And the ball ended up going pin high. I had a handful of shots that I hit and said, oh, man, that's just not there. Just because the feedback that you got, you knew you missed it, whether I hit it a little bit off the toe or hit it thin. And then you get up there and you're almost pin high. And it was pretty impressive to see how consistent and stable these things were, because I would admit, these heads are forgiving. Don't get me wrong. These heads, they've got a hot face on them. They go. But those same shots that I'd miss out there with the Shimadas would come up a little bit shorter. They would come out a little bit right or left, or the miss would be a little more drastic. These were really, really accurate. And that's the big thing, is the misses were really, really good. From the 36 holes, or no, 54 holes that I played with these things. I was really impressed with how well those miss hits went. And it was one of those where people kind of thought I was that jerk who, you'd have the almost Hideki one arm, miss, and you just go, oh man, I hit it off the toe. What are you doing? And then you look and the ball hits, the front of the green, or it's pin high just left, or whatever. It was really impressive to see how good the misses are. And with the 115s and those T100s, I definitely, I love those heads. That combo was really good. Those irons were super solid. Got away with some good stuff when you missed it, but not that good. These things really kept the ball in line, and really reduced, I think, the amount of twisting this head had, as when you did strike it off the toe or low on the face or whatever it is. You just didn't get a ball that moved a whole lot offline, and you still got a ball that carried pretty darn well. It was just kind of amazing. Again, solid shots felt really, really good. It just mutes a little bit more vibration than the pros, just a little bit more solid feel. And I know these heads, I will say, are probably a little softer than those T100 heads, but even so, hitting these things solid, it kind of had that magical kind of whoosh and thud that you hear on Sundays and Saturdays when you're watching TV, and you just pray you can do it a couple times the next day when you're playing. Yeah, that was basically every shot that was close to center or on center just had that feel to it. Launch is a little bit flatter, as I said, a little bit flatter than the Pro 115s. I would consider this thing kind of a true mid-launching shaft. I think in the 105 and the S, if you go on like Fuji's site, they kind of list it as the 105S is kind of a mid-low or a mid-low spin, mid-low launch, and I think that's pretty accurate. I think if you consider the Pro, kind of a mid-high, and then like the MCI, if you ever played it, to me was like definitely a mid-low, if not kind of lower launching. It was substantially lower than the Pro for me. These kind of find their sweet spot right in between. If you're a super high ball hitter, you definitely are going to be able to see this thing kind of lower a little bit of ball flight. Spin was it was not crazy low. You didn't get a lot of, you definitely didn't get it out of the fairway, especially. You didn't get any shots that just flew like crazy. You didn't get any of those like low spinning, just kind of flyers. Even out of the rough, which Bella Vista doesn't have the craziest rough, so flyers aren't a huge problem there. They typically, the way the holes are set up, there's not a ton of rough on a lot of holes, and they don't keep it super long for the most part. But yeah, there's definitely enough spin to keep control. Hitting balls out of the rough, the release is pretty darn predictable. And with these, going high enough, I didn't really have to worry about, how much was the ball going to release, whether it was out of the rough or off the fairway or even off the tee on the par threes. Distance control was really spot on. And when you missed it, it still went a good way. So you were in good shape. But well-struck shots, you knew exactly what they were going to do. And as long as you trusted enough to kind of release the club and get it going, it went at the target. There was definitely a little less spin or a little less curvature on missed shots. There's only one shot that kind of sticks out to me that actually had kind of like a big fade on it. And it was on hole 7. It was a par 3. It's like 160. I think it was playing 165 up the hill. So almost, playing like 170, hit a 6-iron, and I just didn't commit to the shot, and it kind of flared right. And again, it was one of those that ended up actually like kind of, I made it past, there's a big tree over there, and I made it past the tree because I thought I was going to have some problems with the tree. And I made it past the tree and, didn't have an easy up and down to get the ball on the green, but that was the only ball that actually had a good amount of curve to it. Everything else when you missed it was pretty much straight right, straight left. Really, really consistent. And just really tightened up a lot of those misses. And I don't think I had a few little tugs left, which, for my swing, I get over the top, I get down on it, I hit it left. The ball started out left, it stayed right there. I had a little less of that compared to, like I brought the Ping I-230s with those Nippon 105s. And with those there, on some of the misses, you could definitely tell there was a little more curvature to the ball. But these, when you missed it, were basically straight right, straight left. You just didn't see a whole lot of movement in the ball when it was in the air. The shots off the toe, which have been kind of my nemesis for a little while, those have held on really, really well. And I did, those were working out really well. They stayed on line. They didn't go hard left. And stuff that was kind of low heel and thin on the face, still got high enough in the air to carry to greens, and still had enough spin on it to get it to stop. As I was saying, the spin on these, I know they're listed as mid-low for the 105 stiffs, and again, I don't mind a little bit of spin, so having a little bit of spin and getting to stop on the green was no problem whatsoever. And a little bit of spin for me just adds a little bit of control. Hit the from the 5-iron on the pitching wedge. All of them easy to get up in the air. You can definitely work the ball with these. They're not just launching the ball super high. It does have some penetrating and some boring flight to it. So if you're somebody who, wants to hit it low and kind of hit that little stinger and stuff like that, these are going to allow you to pretty much hit any shot in the book. I was pretty, I don't do that. I don't hit stuff that's low, high, whatever. I just try to hit high, soft landing, shots into the green. And that's what this was kind of offering me that. Yeah, so overall, I'm super impressed. I really like these things. I'll definitely get out and throw these things on my full swing kit and get some actual numbers for you, because I know for some guys that's a big deal. But if you're a guy who's looking for kind of that mid, even mid-low launching iron shaft, moving to graphite for whatever reason, whether it's consistency, whether it's something where, if you've got tennis elbow or something like that, elbow, shoulder, back, these things definitely reduce a lot of vibration compared to the steel shafts. And if you're just looking for something that's uber stable, uber accurate, it's hard to beat these bad boys. I mean, we're finally getting VeloCore, which we all loved in wood shafts. We're finally getting it in the iron shafts, and it's not disappointing. So I'm really excited to keep playing these bad boys. This is, they went in the gamer set, so here they are, and it's pretty cool to keep playing them, and I'm excited to hit these more and more because they are really, really good. I really, most of the time I try to think of something negative to say or not negative, but something that I would wish there would be a little bit different on here, and really I don't really have anything on there. I guess for me, if they launched a smidge higher, I would like it even more, because then I could take strengthen these lofts just a hair and hit them a little higher. But the amount of tweaking I needed to do in terms of lowering those or moving those lofts, I did it before I put before I put these shafts in anyway, just because I wanted to see, the difference in, was going to notice a big difference in distance and stuff like that. And so I moved them back right before I switched them. And then after I shafted these up, threw them back in the old Mitchell and made sure everything was set to the right specs. And so far, been really happy. And, again, I'm not hitting these things crazy further, but I'm hitting these same distances that I wanted to hit them. So a 7-iron with these is, 160 to 165, depending on kind of the conditions. And, pitching wedge is still kind of 130. So it's kind of the same distance I've been used to for a long time. I'm still there. And I think that's a big thing, is that you don't have to change anything. The consistency is already there. The stability's there. And, you're just seeing a mishit that ends up, playing a little easier and a little better than it was. So, overall, just a sick combination, Mizar Tours, Axioms, it's pretty cool. So, Vega Fujikura combo, and then a cheap Amazon King Grass grip, because I go through too many grips. But these things are pretty good. They're not bad. They've been holding up pretty well. But anyway, these Fujikura Axiom, go to fujikuragolf.com. You can kind of check out all the specs, all that. They give you a ton of info on these things. And yeah, the 105 is probably, I would say, they'll probably sell the most of the 75s, because, between the R2, the reg, and the stiffs. But I think the 105 will do really, really well for a lot of Golf DBRXers. And I think people will be pretty impressed, guys who played 120 gram shafts, trying the 105s. It'll be pretty interesting to see how stable they are and all that. You don't have to go crazy heavy. But those 125s, they're not bad. I hit them when I was out in Carlsbad. I hit them out there, and they're actually a little more playable than I thought. I thought they were going to be absolute telephone poles. They're not bad at all. And honestly, the 75 stiff was actually pretty darn good. So, yeah, overall, just really impressed. Really liked how these things played, and excited to play them more. And I know I've played a bunch with them, and this is probably the iron set I've played the most this year. Even with these shafts now, I've probably played it the most this year, and I'm still excited to go play them. So really, really good. The Axioms are solid, man. Fuji, with the VeloCore, they did it. And I know a few people have asked, we haven't seen them on tour or anything yet. And I don't know, it just doesn't matter. they're really, really good. So maybe we'll see them shortly out on tour and stuff. But right now, I'm a big fan. I think they're really, really good. So this set is built. It's staying here for a while, and I'm excited to play some more with it. But that's about all I got today. I think when I rambled long enough. Hopefully I didn't bore you all too much. And then I'm thinking maybe I'll try to get the 75 to put it in the Ping eye crossover. That'd be kind of cool. I don't know. We'll see. The 105. I've got this 105 here, and I'm like, I just don't want to mess with the Ping, but I kind of don't want to mess with the Ping. So I don't know. Maybe I'll just get myself another eye crossover adapter, put this thing on it, and then try it out and see. But either way, the Axioms are really impressive. Like I said, go to fujikuragolf.com, check out all the details on the Axiom, and then also you can go through and find your dealer, your local dealer, and they can get you out there, hit them, try all three weights. I guess the 125 you fit into the X, but try all the weights and see how they go. So anyway, that's all I've got today, and hopefully you guys have a great weekend, have a great rest of the week. I'm going to get out and try to play some golf. I know I got league on Thursday, and then maybe I'll get out and be able to play a little bit this weekend. We'll see. I'll see. But anyway, the other thing coming up is got the big golf outings going. The draft happened a couple weeks ago, which was awesome. I got my team dialed in for the Saragua, my big golf outing, and there's been a whole lot going on. Got my, since I'm the captain, I've got shirts picked out for the team. We're going with a little blue and kind of periwinkle stripe like Adam Scott wore a few tournaments ago earlier this year, and just rocking and rolling, man. I'm excited. So gonna do excited for that. It's less than a month away. It's end of August, so kind of crazy. That's going to be here faster than I know. But really excited for that as well. So just a good time. So hopefully, again, you guys are having a good one. Again, wherever you're listening to the podcast, you could like, subscribe, all that. That'd be awesome. Follow me on Instagram at Club Junkie Pod, and then also if you want to watch on YouTube, see my ugly mug. Search Golf DBRX Radio, and I am on there. So appreciate all the love, all that. I'll hopefully do Q&A. Hopefully I did Q&A yesterday. I don't know if I'm going to do it on the main Golf DBRX account or the or the Club Junkie. We'll see. But going to do that. And then, it's another week, man. So keep it rolling. Hopefully you're playing good golf this year, and excited to chat with you guys some more. We'll talk to you next week.